Launch Control, T-minus 20 seconds and counting. Our status checks continue. They're all go at this point. T-minus 15 seconds and counting. The recorders on the script charts are at a fast speed. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. We have liftoff. Liftoff at 41 minutes past the hour. Charts are starting here at the Mission Control Center in the Olympic Star. The roll program is in and the pitch program is in as we switch to a flight azimuth of 102 degrees. Our charts are right on normal here during the early phases of the flight. Now 33 seconds into the mission, we are looking good. Surveyor Launch Control, 50 seconds into the flight. All systems still looking good during this early phase of the powered flight.
A little cloudiness at Cape Kennedy.
Our tracking charts are now moving out here in the Mission Control Center, and they appear to be on track at this time. Now 1 minute into the flight. We'll be looking for booster engine cutoff of the Atlas first stage at 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the mission. This is Surveyor Launch Control, now 1 minute and 20 seconds into the flight. All systems still go at this time. We have an official liftoff time of 9:41 and 1 second Eastern Standard Time. Now 1.5 minutes into the flight. Our chart's still on track at this time.
You're listening to Jack King from Cape Kennedy describe the early phases of the flight for us. We've lost the picture because of cloud cover.
This is Surveyor Launch Control, now 2 minutes into the mission. All systems are still go at this time. Our tracking charts here in the control center very, very close to nominal at this point. This is Surveyor Launch Control, now 2 minutes, 25 seconds into the flight. We have confirmation of booster engine cutoff of the Atlas first stage, and the boosters have been jettisoned from the vehicle. The sustainer engine continues to burn on the Atlas vehicle at this point, and will burn for about 1 minute and 14 seconds longer after the booster jettison.
Well, the first crucial phase has been
still
passed.
Looking good, 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the flight. This is Surveyor Launch Control, now 3 minutes into the flight. We now have confirmation that the insulation panels that surround the Centaur stage during the early portion of the flight have been jettisoned. The flight is still proceeding normally at this time.
Another crucial point passed. All going very well. Those panels were to protect.
This is Surveyor Launch Control. We now have confirmation that 2,000-pound nose fairing that protects the Surveyor spacecraft has been jettisoned. It appears to be normal. The time appears to be normal of the jettisoning of the nose fairing. All systems are still go. Our tracking charts still right on target at this point.
Many of these things are being tried for the first time, and they're having good luck so far.
This is Surveyor Launch Control. We have confirmation of sustainer engine cutoff of the Atlas vehicle.
That's the end of the Atlas's work. The Centaur should take over shortly.
This is Surveyor Launch Control. We have a confirmation of separation of the Atlas vehicle. We did not receive a VICO cutoff. However, with the separation, we now have confirmation also of VICO. Sustainer engine cutoff, vernier engine cutoff. The Atlas has separated, and we can confirm the Centaur stage has ignited. Those two 15,000-pound thrust engines have ignited. We are continuing on the flight, all looking well at 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the flight. Art.
Well, everything has been just beautiful so far. The Atlas rocket performed exactly the way they had in mind for it to, and when the booster engines cut off when they were supposed to and dropped away, the sustainer engine kept firing, kept propelling, increasing speed until it burned out, and then it shut off and the entire Atlas broke away from the remainder of the complex, which is the other rocket, the Centaur and the Surveyor, and then the Centaur fired up and is now propelling the Surveyor in the early phases of its 231,000-mile journey to the moon. And it all went right according to schedule, and we'll continue to get reports from Jack King as we go along. We won't actually learn a great deal more about the moon from this flight than we already know, because this is primarily an engineering undertaking, which is to say they're trying to develop the hardware and the techniques for simply getting to the moon and landing gently and surviving the landing. That has to be done first, and then once they're able to do that with some regularity and some assurance of success, then they'll begin to send up sophisticated instruments to learn a little bit more about the moon. But we have learned something about the moon from past United States space programs, the Ranger, for one, and Dr. Eugene Shoemaker, the lunar geologist, will have the responsibility of evaluating the Surveyor television pictures, and he has studied both the American Ranger moon photos and the recent Russian close-ups from their Luna 9. The Ranger pictures increased man's observation of the moon's surface, perhaps 1,000-fold, and Luna added to that. Here's Shoemaker.
Luna 9, in turn, extended the range of our observations down about another factor of 100. In fact, down to the range where for the first time we can see the texture or granularity of the surface, and in particular the grain size of this layer of fragments I've been speaking about. In fact, it was something of a surprise. When we first saw the Ranger pictures, we thought that this layer must be very fine-grained. And as we looked at the Luna 9 pictures, we realized it was coarser. The layer is made up of pieces about the size of a half an inch or so on the average. Of course, there are many finer fragments present, which we can't see still in the Luna 9 pictures, and there are occasional larger pieces of debris, some of which are very prominent in the pictures seen in the newspapers.
With the fine results from Ranger and Lunac 9, what's left to learn from Surveyor?
Well, we barely scratched the surface, so to speak, in our knowledge of the moon. In fact, we've just looked at it, and that's the first step. The next step will really be to get some direct physical measurements of the surface, and one of the most important that we need now are the measurements of the strength of the surface. We know now from the Ranger pictures and from Luna 9 that the surface is sufficiently smooth for a spacecraft bearing an astronaut to land. We're not yet positive, although I think the evidence is rather good from the pictures, that the surface will be strong enough to support the spacecraft when it touches down, and strong enough for the astronaut to walk on the surface. The Surveyor spacecraft will give us the answer, at least in one place.
Everything, according to Cape Kennedy, is proceeding very normally, all going quite well. The Centaur engine is burning now and will continue to do so for another few minutes, propelling the Surveyor along toward a maximum speed of about 23,500 miles an hour. We're keeping check on that, and we'll take a little break now so that you can have this message from Gulf. Minutes into the flight of Surveyor, and the next critical event comes up in about 2 minutes when we expect the Centaur engines to shut down. In the meantime, here is NBC's Peter Hackis to explain something about this terribly complicated package of instruments that's being called a Surveyor. Peter?
Frank, here's what it looks like, or what we hope it'll look like when it gets to the moon. It stands roughly about 10 feet tall, built basically on a triangular frame made of aluminum. Up here at the top, you see the solar panel. This, in turn, is made up of nearly 4,000 little tiny solar cells, which is kept aimed at the sun, getting the sun's rays. It can be aimed and will be by ground command. The energy then is taken inside the spacecraft and stored in a series of batteries to be used in the future. Here you see the television camera. At the top, there is a little movable visor type mirror, which can be rotated 360 degrees. It also can be elevated and lowered, so that as we hope in the first part of the performance on the moon, we'll take a picture here of the landing pad itself. Then that will come up so you can take a picture of the rest of the lunar surface. It's very flexible. Here you see one of the 3 landing pads made of crushable aluminum, and also inside is an hydraulic system which will cushion the fall onto the lunar surface. Frank?
Thank you, Peter. The Surveyor is still increasing its speed, and we're expecting an announcement from Jack King.
We'll be looking to the downrange tracking stations to give us confirmation of MECO, which is main engine cutoff of the Centaur stage. It was due a few seconds ago. There will be a slight delay as we await the report from downrange. Now 11 minutes and 35 seconds into the mission. When the vehicle and the spacecraft left us, it was looking very good. Into the flight. The launch vehicle, the second stage, Centaur stage, and the Surveyor spacecraft still attached have gone over the horizon as far as tracking is concerned, both here and at the Antigua tracking station of the Air Force Eastern Test Range. We'll be looking to several ships in the Atlantic to give us confirmation of main engine cutoff. When it left our tracking efforts, the performance of the vehicle looked very good. There will be a delay in the report of main engine cutoff of the Centaur because these ships in the Atlantic must maintain radio silence during their tracking effort. Following the completion of their tracking, they will send back a report to us here on the Cape on the information they received. We are still awaiting word on confirmation of the completion of the performance of the Centaur second stage. Now 13 minutes and 20 seconds into the mission, this is Surveyor Launch Control.